because your podcast serves as a platform and a tool to invite people in to go deeper with you. So going deeper could be investing into your one-on-one private mentorship program, or it could just be signing up for your free guide, your free class, your free pack of templates, whatever it is. What would happen if you could trust the power of your story, the power of your voice and your art? What would happen if you took up more space with who you really are? My name is Caroline, and this is the Creative Visionary Podcast. I believe that storytelling changes the world. I'm a film director, podcast producer, and storytelling doula. And this podcast is designed to empower you, the creative visionary, coach, artist, healer, or all of the above, to tell your story, create powerful video, and launch your podcast so that your people can find you. Because they're out there right now, looking for what you do exactly the way that you do it. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. In my teens and 20s, I suffered from generalized anxiety disorder and had multiple panic attacks a day. My boss at my first job suggested that I go see her therapist. I was resistant at first, but that was the beginning of my relationship with therapy. Now, in my 30s, I go to therapy almost every week. I recently worked with a BetterHelp therapist to navigate some family relationship dynamics that were just too big to hold on my own. I can't even begin to describe how much that helped me and how much therapy has helped me heal my trauma and stay anchored in my highest self in general. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, and you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. And it's more affordable than traditional offline counseling. Plus, BetterHelp is offering 10% off your first month using the code CreativeVisionary when you go to betterhelp.com/creativevisionary. Your mental and emotional bodies deserve to be cared for. All right, little angels, come on into the room. We're going to talk about monetizing your podcast. We're going to talk about feeling like you've put all this energy into your podcast and just wanting it to be heard by more people, wanting it to turn into a really big beneficial piece of your business. So I'm actually recording live on the Creative Visionary podcast right now and going live on Instagram at the same time. My advice is always, if you're going live, you might as well just turn it into a podcast episode. Like literally, why not? I've got about 27% left on my phone, so let's see if we can make it through this. Recording on the microphone, got my AirPods in, chatting with you through the AirPods. We got it all happening at once. Happy Friday. If you're listening to this on the podcast or catching this replay, it may not be Friday, but that Friday energy is definitely alive. Last night we kicked off Spoken, my signature podcast course, which was such an amazing and sacred kickoff call. It was so beautiful. This group of women are so multifaceted and so passionate. And there's a lot of, there was a big theme coming through around receiving, which was really beautiful for the full moon in Sagittarius, which was last night. And kind of opening up channels to receive and abundance kind of flowing in both ways. It was really, really beautiful and synchronistic and truly so sacred. And what's been really coming through lately is the sacred nature of podcasting and being able to speak in this long form that's so kind of frowned upon on social media and really go deep into your truth and go deep into your creative expression and connect with your people and show up authentically expressing your voice. It's really been coming through lately. And for me, this return to storytelling, this return to the reason I started the Get a Helmet podcast, my first podcast, in the first place, which was the magic and adventure of human conversation, the power of it. So that got me thinking. And then I was like, let's do this for the Creative Visionary podcast again. So I'm going to be right here with you, pouring new energy into the Creative Visionary, doing what I can to boost sales through it and relaunch it. Truly, I always recommend if you are a podcaster and you already have your show going and you want to bring it new life, the relaunch is so incredibly powerful. So we're going to talk today about monetizing, about the exact things I'm going to be doing on this very podcast to get more listeners, to get myself, I'm in the top 10%. I want to get to the top 5%. I mean, obviously I want to get to the top 1%, but we're just going to take those steps in the direction of growth and abundance and expansion. So I'm setting this goal. Feel free to set it right along with me. And I'm also going to be teaching a $22 masterclass in June all about monetizing your podcast. So if you want to go deep into this with me, that's going to be happening. And I'm really excited about it. If you're listening to this on the podcast, the link to sign up will be in the show notes. If you're catching this on Instagram, just comment the word masterclass and I will send you the details. So a lot of you have been saying recently that this is one of the biggest kind of points of contention with podcasting. And the monetizing really speaks to being able to sustain it and be consistent with it. They're all connected, right? Like if you're making money in your podcast and lots of people are listening, you're a hell of a lot more interested in showing up every single day talking about your podcast, right? And it's kind of that thing of show up to a room with one person in it as if there's 1,000 people there. And that is the journey of the entrepreneur, of the artist, just pouring your heart out there and hoping it will resonate and land with someone. And the truth is that it always does, that your people are literally waiting and praying for you to put your work out there, to put your voice out there for whatever it is that you do in the world. They're looking for it exactly the way that you do it. So what I want to do in this moment with you is break down the pillars of what I'll be doing for my podcast and what I walk all my clients through, what we're going to be doing inside of Spoken. And if you come to the masterclass in June, we'll go deep into this as well. So let's dive into monetizing your podcast and kind of relaunching it. That's really what we're going to be talking about. Number one thing, this is for every single podcaster, batching your recordings. I always say 2 hours a week or 2 hours twice a month is the start there and put that on your calendar like it's a doctor's appointment, like it's something you've got to go do with your kids, like it's something that you cannot miss, something to do with your family. Put it on your calendar. And ideally, it's that same time and same day every month. And you give yourself space to batch record solo episodes, to get some interviews on the calendar, and to edit if that's what you're doing. If you're in the space right now where you're editing your own show, or if you're offloading your show and you're having someone else edit it, maybe you found an editor on Upwork or Fiverr or something like that, or maybe you're working with Get a Helmet Studio to produce your whole entire show, in which case all you need to do is press record, get in your flow, and send us the recording. That's all you need to do. But for my beginners, my beautiful, beautiful podcast beginners, if you are editing your own show, that takes time, right? We talk about this a lot inside of Spoken. If you have a very busy schedule, if you are a busy, busy entrepreneur and your podcast is important to you and you are making the smart decision to have one and or to launch one, it is okay to keep your episodes short and sweet, because what does that mean? Less recording time and less editing time. So my number one thing to suggest to you that I'm also going to be rewiring into my brain, because we all fall off of our habits and patterns and we need a little kick in the pants, is batch recording, scheduling the episodes ahead of time. And I'm going to, as soon as I'm done recording this, 4:44 on the clock, I'm going to put this in my calendar. My next round of episodes, get them batched, get them recorded, or make sure that my editors know what's going on when they're editing the next thing. Just really put that back into action. So I invite you to do that with me as well. I live by my Google Calendar. The next thing I was going to talk about was delegating, right? Which is kind of what I've been mentioning already. How can you support yourself in getting editing support, show notes support, social content creation support, right? There are so many people out here who can help you. We can for sure. If you're looking for someone, to try to save budget-wise, then Upwork and Fiverr are great resources. There are a bunch of Facebook groups that you can get into and find editors. And a lot of these editors are full on producing the show, right? I mean, you have to make sure that when you're hiring someone that you are vetting them. I love giving people test episodes to play with. A lot of these times when you're hiring people, they're really just using AI tools to pump out the transcriptions and show notes, which that's totally fine. But we want to make sure that those show notes feel like they're actually written by a human being and in the tone of voice that is succinct with your brand. So, that's what you want to be mindful of and be very clear when you're communicating with these people that you're just hiring that's a standard, right? That's a difference in paying somebody $40 an episode and $150 an episode. It's like there's a huge difference there. So keep your eyes on that. But delegating as a business owner is what's going to get you to the next level. It just is in all areas of your business. So if you're at that space right now with your podcast, lean into that. Get some support, because if you're getting support with your podcast and that allows you to show up more consistently and have bigger, bolder episodes and promote more consistently because you actually have content created, then you're going to make more money from your podcast as long as you're selling on your show, which we're going to talk about. That's our next point. Selling your offers, right? So we've got everything scheduled out. We know exactly when we're recording. We know exactly when we're editing. We've got all the social content's going to be done. We're ready to go. We're going to have it done and dusted ahead of time, not the night before the episode goes live. You want to get this stuff batched weeks ahead of time. Give yourself some space. And then you've got ideally a person or a team helping you in creating this podcast and getting all of this stuff done. So that you can be in your zone of genius. Now, the things to be really focusing on your actual episodes, right? Mentioning your offers, selling them, inviting people in right then and there on the episodes, and not forgetting to talk about your free offers, your lead magnets, because your podcast serves as a platform and a tool to invite people in to go deeper with you. So going deeper could be investing into your one-on-one private mentorship program, or it could just be signing up for your free guide, your free class, your free pack of templates, whatever it is that you do. But the point is that your podcast builds trust, and then they go deeper. They get on your email list, they download the thing, and then they're like, hell yes, I'm feeling the benefit of this. You give them something where they feel a change in the direction of where they want to be, and they feel it immediately. How can your lead magnet should be providing that for them. And then of course you want to be like nurturing them on your email list and all of these things. But inviting people into your offers on your podcast, inviting them to join your program, to book a call, to download the lead magnet. And you know what else? To listen to other podcast episodes that are relevant to what it is that you're talking about on that episode. Your podcast episode, every single podcast episode is its own lead magnet. So don't forget about this. So, as a business owner, this has you looking ahead. What's going on in the next month? What are you selling? What are your goals? How can you use your podcast as a tool to meet those goals, to talk about those specific things, right? And then put out those weekly or bi-weekly episodes. Amazing. Next thing, consistently promoting, okay? So right now, everybody here watching, listening, please, I would be so honored if you could go to the Creative Visionary Podcast on Apple Podcasts and leave me a beautiful review. Takes 30 seconds, and then give me that 5-star rating because you know she's cute. And then if you're feeling extra frisky, go to Spotify and hit the follow button and the rate button. Ask people to do this consistently. If you're a podcaster and you're watching this or you're listening to this and you have not today asked people to review your podcast or listen, go do it right now. Go jump into your stories, go send out an email to your list, write it in a caption, mention it to somebody that you go see at dinner. Bring it up consistently. Really put on the hat of a podcast host and own that identity. You can be consistently, everything that you're talking about in your podcast feeds directly into whatever it is that you're selling. So every piece of content that you make on social media, you can be parentheses pointing people to a podcast episode, or a PS, go listen to the podcast episode so-and-so goes deep into this exact thing. Point them there. Let the podcast episode be a call to action all the time, all the time. Next thing, this is the challenge for me in the next up level for Creative Visionary, which some people are going to be like, Caroline, but you're a filmmaker. This is so crazy. But really using video more. Like, duh. I, always advise everybody use Riverside, especially if you're doing remote recorded interviews. The video quality is wonderful and the sound quality is great. Using video to promote. Like, I know that if you've been following me and you've been listening to Creative Visionary, like I've definitely had a weird love-hate relationship with social media. And my podcast has been just this like beautiful kind of safe haven, honestly. And so as someone who shows up on social media, wanting to use those moments from the podcast episodes, the pieces of video as social content. And the beautiful thing about this is that now there's so many tools that will do this for you, that literally do this for you. So Riverside does this for you. They pull clips for you. Now, of course, watch them back. If you feel like they're like out of context or not relevant, then do not use them. But most of the time, from what I've seen, is they're pretty damn good. They're called magic clips within Riverside. And you can have them so that you can literally export them vertically oriented for social. So it's just like, boom, there's the clip, boom, it's done. So there's not really any editing that's happening. You can add captions. You can even put your like podcast logo on there up on Riverside. So really leaning into video because number one, I am in a film studio. I am a filmmaker, and the power of video is like completely and utterly unmatched. And I'm such a nerd. I'm constantly watching these interviews on YouTube and, loving when I can see the interview that's taking place. So if I love that, then other people love that, right? It's like really paying attention to what it is that you like. What are you watching? What things light you up inside and following those? How can you apply that to all areas of your business and to your podcast? The next thing I want to talk about is relaunching your podcast. So we'll talk about this in the masterclass that I'll be teaching next month. We'll go really deep into this. But people often think that if you've put your podcast out into the world, that's it, right? Like all you can really do is just kind of keep talking about it. Or you can implement a launch strategy like you would any offer in your business and launch that bad boy back out into the world as if it were just born. So think about this. Think about ways that you can pour energy into your podcast, relaunch. Maybe it's a new season, or maybe you're just like, hey, remember this? Come listen to this. Maybe you've updated your cover art. Maybe you've completely changed the name. So I'm going to be doing this, and you can literally be with me and watch me do this for the Creative Visionary over the next couple of months. And if you want to learn how to do this exactly for your podcast and monetize in a deeper way, comment masterclass, or if you're on the podcast listening, like I said, go to the show notes. It'll be in there for you. And the biggest piece of this, which is the last thing I'm going to touch on now, is the importance of getting people to rate and review your show. So subscribe and or follow, rate and review. These are huge. The more ratings and the more reviews that you have, the more searchable your podcast is to other people. Meaning people that aren't currently in your audience just being like, I love this person, I'm going to go click on the episode because like I already buy everything that they put out into the world. Not those people. New people, people who aren't familiar with you yet, finding you out of nowhere. And the way that they do that is if they go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and they type in the words that they're looking for, those keywords, right? Which are really, really, really crucial in terms of how you're naming your episodes, like titling your episodes. For example, if there was a woman who was wanting to learn more about fertility and freezing her eggs, she'd get on Apple Podcasts and she'd type in freezing my eggs. And then what would pop up is all of the podcasts that have to do with that right there. And the ones that would come up first are the bigger podcasts, the ones that have the more reviews and more ratings and more subscribers or followers to their show. So that's what I mean when I say searchability and visibility for your podcast is people can find you that don't know who you are based on the things that they're searching for. And the things that they're searching for are usually the needs that you fill in your programs and your offers, right? So whatever episodes you have on your podcast, they're usually teaching about something, hopefully, teaching about something that you have as a paid offer. So that podcast is like, ooh, dip my toe in. I feel good. I trust this person. I like this person. And then opening up the doors to go deeper with you in a paid offer. Okay, we got that low battery on the phone, but we still got 20%, y'all. So this is so important. And you heard me do it at the very beginning of this recording. Go rate and review. Don't be shy. Tell people to do that. It's super duper important. And that's part of your relaunch or your initial launch piece is really incentivizing people to do that. When you've got the hype and you're kind of like, hey, check this thing out. Look at all this stuff that I'm posting about it. I'm going live and I'm talking about it. It's like the vibes are high around it. Ask and then continue to ask. It's really powerful to actually have in every single episode a little outro that says, if you like this episode, share it with a friend. Honestly, share it with a friend is even more important and more powerful than the rating and the reviewing, because even in this world of technology, the most powerful way for your podcast to grow is just people talking about it. Truly, people talking about it. So let's break this back down. Batching, scheduling things ahead of time. A couple of hours every week or every other week for you to record, for you to edit, to write your show notes, or to delegate that to someone else. Delegating. Huge, huge, huge. Selling your offers on your podcast. Your offers include your free stuff. Any way for your people to go deeper with you. Then consistently promoting your podcast. Consistently talking about it. Weaving it into your captions and your writing, making your podcast a call to action. Always, 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 always. Then using that video content, using Riverside to record and sharing it with us. Let us see you. Let us get to know you. Then implementing a relaunch, giving your podcast new life. And part of that is incentivizing people to rate and review and not being afraid to talk about it. So those are the biggest pieces of monetization. They're the ones that I'm going to be taking within my own world and my own podcast over the next couple of months. And I'll be sharing about that as we go. And if you want to go deeper into this, like I said, my masterclass on monetizing podcasts is going to be happening next month. It's $22. It's going to be lit. It's going to be amazing. And I love you. And I'm so grateful that you are here. Let this serve as an example that your podcast does not have to be perfect. It's just an opportunity for your people to get to know you more. That's all that it is. It's a beautiful opportunity for you to share your stories, your ideas, your skills, to step into your leadership and really show people your mastery, truly. But it gets to be imperfect, right? Like your phone can be dying and you can be recording and you can be doing an Instagram live and a podcast at the exact same time. And you can still make money and you can still grow your business and you can still be an incredible artist and leader. I love you. If you haven't already, go rate and review the show. I'll see you soon, hopefully inside of that masterclass. And have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Bye, my loves.